The warship Resilient Dawn cut through space like a knife. Its dark metal hull gleamed under the light of distant stars. Captain June stood on the bridge, his tall figure casting a long shadow. He watched the main screen with keen yellow eyes. "Status. Report," he said, his deep voice filling the command center. Lieutenant Tay looked up from his screen. "All systems working perfectly, Captain. We will reach the trading post in 30 minutes. Captain June nodded. The Heron were not a species that showed much emotion, but pride was clear in his stance. His ship was the fastest in the fleet. His crew was the best. They would save the day, as they always did. The Heron were special. Everyone in the galaxy knew this. They had evolved on Hera, a world so dangerous that most alien species could not even visit without special suits. High gravity crushed bones. Toxic gases filled the air. Giant beasts hunted in the forests. Storms with lightning that could melt metal swept across the plains. And yet the Heron had not just survived. They had thrived. Captain June's body showed why. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, with dense muscles under thick gray skin. His bones were like steel. His organs doubled for safety, and his reflexes were faster than most computer systems. All Heron were built this way, built to survive. "Captain," said Science Officer Yoon, breaking his thoughts. "I've analyzed the distress call again. The Vex attack seems larger than usual, at least 6 raid ships." June turned to look at Yoon. She was smaller than most Heron, but her mind was sharper than anyone's. 6 ships? That's not a raid, that's an invasion force, he said. Security Chief Sun stepped forward. The old warrior had scars across his face from 100 battles. "The Vex are getting bolder. They think no one can stop them." "They're wrong," said June. "We can and will stop them." Navigator Hyun, the youngest crew member, looked nervous but determined at his controls. "Course locked in, Captain, maximum speed." June nodded and took his command chair. Around him, his crew worked with perfect efficiency. They were Heron, evolved to overcome, trained to win. The Resilient Dawn was not just any ship. It was a symbol of Heron might. Since they had discovered spaceflight 300 years ago, the Heron had quickly established themselves as the toughest species in known space. Other races had evolved on gentle worlds with calm weather, few predators, and stable environments. They were soft, fragile. The first time Heron met aliens, they had been shocked. How could intelligent life evolve without constant danger pushing it? How could a species reach the stars if they had never needed to fight for every breath? June remembered his history lessons. The first alien delegation had been terrified of the Heron. They thought they had discovered monsters. But soon enough they realized that Heron were not conquerors. They were protectors. "We're picking up something strange," Lieutenant Tay said suddenly. "The Vex ships. They're scattered. Some appear damaged." June leaned forward. "Show me." The main screen shifted to show the space around the trading post. June expected to see the typical Vex formation, organized, predatory. Instead, he saw chaos. 3 Vex ships drifted with no power. Another was spinning out of control. 2 more were retreating at full speed. "What happened?" he asked. "Did the trading post have defenses we didn't know about?" Yoon studied her readouts. "No, Captain, but I'm detecting another ship. It's not in our database." "Unknown ship," Sun said, his hand moving to his weapon automatically. "Caution is advised." "On screen," ordered June. The view changed again, and now they could see it. The unknown vessel was small, perhaps 1/3 the size of the Resilient Dawn. Its design was strange, practical rather than elegant, with obvious weapon mounts and what looked like patch repairs on its hull. "It looks primitive," said Tay with surprise. "And yet it defeated 6 Vex ships," June noted. "Scan it." Yoon worked quickly. "The technology is mixed, some advanced, some surprisingly basic. Life signs detect approximately 20 beings aboard, but this is odd." "What is it?" June asked. "They're not registered in our biological database. They're completely unknown." This was unusual. The Heron Galactic Union had cataloged all known intelligent species in their region of space. A completely new species was rare, especially one with spaceflight and combat capabilities. "Open a channel," June ordered. A moment passed. Then the main screen changed again. Now it showed an alien command center, similar to their own, but more cluttered. In the center stood a figure that made all the Heron stare. The alien was small, perhaps 5.5 feet tall. It had no protective scales or plates, just soft-looking skin. Its limbs seemed thin, its body structure light. It wore some kind of uniform with patches and symbols none of them recognized. "This is Captain Min of the United Earth Defense Force, Vessel Indomitable," the alien said in clear galactic standard. "We received the distress call and responded. The situation is now under control." June found himself momentarily speechless. This fragile-looking being had defeated the Vex? It seemed impossible. He gathered himself. "This is Captain June of the Heron warship Resilient Dawn. We appreciate your assistance, Captain Min. We had not expected to find the situation resolved." "Captain?" Min smiled. At least June thought it was a smile. Alien expressions were always hard to read. "Happy to help. The trading post has 3 injured, but no casualties. The Vex weren't expecting resistance. They usually don't when attacking civilian targets." June noticed something in the background, more aliens like Captain Min working at stations. Some were treating wounds on each other. One had a deep cut on its arm yet continued working as if it barely noticed. "Your species is not in our records," June said. "You call yourselves humans," Captain Min replied. "From Earth. We're relatively new to this sector of space." Sun moved closer to June and lowered his voice. "Captain, how could these humans defeat a Vex attack force? They look like they would break in our gravity." June shared his security chief's confusion. The Heron were the toughest, strongest species known. They alone had evolved on a death world. Yet these humans had accomplished what would normally require a full Heron battle group. "Captain Min," June said, making a decision. "Following Heron custom, we would be honored if you and your senior crew would join us aboard the Resilient Dawn. Warriors who have proven their valor deserve proper recognition." Min seemed to consider this for a moment. "We accept your invitation, Captain June. Allow us 30 minutes to secure the trading post and prepare." Min out. The screen returned to a view of space. The bridge was silent. "Prepare for visitors," June ordered. "And Science Officer Yoon, find out everything you can about these humans and their world Earth. I want to know who they are and how they fight so effectively." "Yes, Captain," Yoon said, already working. June turned to look out at the stars. For hundreds of years, the Heron had defined themselves by their unique evolution, the only intelligent species from a world that tried to kill them every day. The only Deathworlders. But now, June had a feeling that was about to change. The docking bay of the Resilient Dawn was prepared for the human visitors. Captain June stood with his senior officers in a formal line. All wore their dress uniforms, decorated with battle honors. This was Heron tradition when meeting worthy warriors. "Remember," June said quietly, "show proper respect. Whatever these humans are, they defeated 6 Vex ships." The airlock doors slid open. 4 humans walked into the docking bay. They seemed even smaller in person, their movements quick and light. Captain Min led them, followed by 3 officers. "Captain June," Min said with a slight bow, "thank you for your invitation. May I introduce my team? This is Tactical Officer G, Science Specialist Song, and Combat Expert Han." June studied them with fascination. None reached even his shoulder in height. Their skin varied in shade from light to dark brown. They had hair on their heads but nowhere else. Their eyes were small, round, and alert. They wore simple blue uniforms with minimal decoration. "Welcome aboard the Resilient Dawn," June said formally. "I am honored to present Lieutenant Tae, Science, Officer Yoon, and Security Chief Sun." The humans smiled, that strange stretching of their mouths that seemed to show friendliness. Security Chief Sun did not return the gesture. He was watching Combat Expert Han with suspicion. Please follow me to our meeting hall, June said. We have much to discuss. As they walked through the corridors, June noticed that the humans glanced around with interest at the ship. They seemed impressed by its size but not intimidated. Your vessel is quite spacious, Captain Min said. Our Indomitable is more compact, yet effective, June replied. You handled the Vex with impressive skill. Min shrugged, a human gesture that June didn't fully understand. We've dealt with their kind before. Hit hard and fast. Don't let them coordinate. In the meeting hall, the two groups sat across from each other at a large table. The chairs were too big for the humans, making them look even smaller. Servers brought in traditional Heron victory drinks, a strong, bitter liquid that burned the throat. To successful battle, June said, raising his cup. The humans hesitated only briefly before raising their cups as well. They drank without complaint, though June saw their eyes water slightly. That's quite strong, Captain Min said, voice slightly rough. Reminds me of our tequila back home. Science Officer Yoon leaned forward. I've gathered some information about your species. With your permission. Earth is not in our star charts. Science Specialist Song nodded. We're newcomers to this sector. Our colony ships arrived about 5 years ago. Colony ships? Lieutenant Tay asked. You're not a military expedition? The humans exchanged glances. We're both, Captain Min explained. Earth believes in being prepared. Every colony includes defense forces. Security Chief Sun finally spoke. Your ship is small. Your weapons seem basic. Yet you defeated 6 Vex ships. How? Combat expert Han smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. We used their patterns against them. Vex always attack the same way. Ordered, predictable. We let them think they had us, then hit their weak spots. Sun looked unconvinced. The Vex have few weak spots. Everything has a weak spot, Han replied, simply. You just need to find it. Science Officer Yoon tapped on her data pad. I'm curious about your homeworld. Our records are incomplete. Earth is varied, Song explained. Many different environments, oceans, mountains, deserts, forests, ice regions. What is its classification? Yoon asked. The humans looked confused. Classification? Song repeated. Planetary danger classification, Yoon explained. Hera is a Class 12 death world. High gravity, toxic areas, extreme weather, dangerous wildlife. The humans nodded in understanding. Song consulted her own device. Earth is classified in galactic records as a Class 15 death world. The room went silent. The Heron stared at the humans in disbelief. That's impossible, Sun said firmly. No intelligent life could evolve on a Class 15 world. The conditions would be too extreme. Captain Min smiled again. Yet here we are. June studied the humans with new eyes. Class 15, 3 levels above Hera. How could these small, seemingly fragile beings come from a world more dangerous than his own? What makes Earth so dangerous? He asked quietly. Song began listing facts. Constant tectonic activity, extreme temperature variations, over 100,000 species of pathogens that can cause disease, widespread natural disasters, floods, fires, storms. Predators evolved to hunt in every environment. And you survived this? Lieutenant Tay asked, clearly amazed. We didn't just survive, Captain Min said. We became the apex species. June was trying to reconcile what he was seeing with what he was hearing. These humans showed none of the physical adaptations the Heron had developed. No thick skin, no dense muscles, no reinforced bones. How? He asked simply. Captain Min looked at his team, then back to June. We adapted in different ways. We're not stronger, we're smarter. We don't have natural armor, we build it. We can't breathe toxic air, we change the air. When we can't overpower something, we outthink it. Science Officer Yoon was frantically making notes. Fascinating. Your evolution took a completely different path from ours. The conversation was interrupted by an alert. Lieutenant Tay checked his communicator. Captain, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the Galactic Council. All ships in the sector are being recalled. June turned to Captain Min. It seems our meeting must be cut short. The Council rarely calls all ships unless there's a major threat. Min nodded. We received the same alert. The Vex? Likely, June agreed. Their attack on the trading post may have been part of something larger. Then we should go together, Min suggested. 2 Deathworld species might see things others miss. June considered the offer. The Heron were used to handling threats alone. They were the protectors, the warriors. They didn't need help, and yet these humans had proven themselves in battle. They came from a world even more dangerous than Hera. Perhaps they had insights the Heron lacked. Agreed, he said finally. The resilient Dawn will escort the Indomitable to the Council meeting point. As they stood to leave, Security Chief Sun approached combat expert Han. The two sized each other, up the tall, heavily muscled Heron and the compact, lean human. I would be interested to see how humans fight, Sun said. Perhaps a training session during our journey? Han smiled. I'd enjoy that, but I should warn you, we don't fight fair. Sun looked confused. What is the purpose of fighting if not to test strength honestly? The purpose of fighting is to win, Han replied. Everything else is secondary. As the humans left to return to their ship, June pulled Science Officer Yoon aside. Learn everything you can about Earth and humans. If they truly evolved on a Class 15 world, they may be more dangerous than they appear. Yoon nodded. I've already begun research. One thing is clear. They are not like us. Where we developed physical solutions to survival, they developed behavioral ones. They're adaptable in ways we never needed to be. June watched through the viewing port as the human shuttle returned to their small ship. The Indomitable looked almost fragile next to the massive, resilient Dawn, yet it had defeated 6 Vex ships. Perhaps, June said thoughtfully, we have been wrong all these years. Perhaps being a Deathworlder isn't about being the strongest. Then what is it about? Yoon asked. June continued watching the human ship. Survival. By any means necessary. As the 2 ships prepared to jump to the Council coordinates, June couldn't help feeling that everything was about to change. For centuries, the Heron had defined themselves as the galaxy's warriors, the only species tough enough to face any threat. But now they had met humans, and June suspected that the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council chamber was massive. Curved walls rose high above with seats for representatives from 100 worlds. Light streamed in through crystal windows. In the center stood a round platform where speakers addressed the council. Captain, June and his officers entered alongside Captain Min and the human team. All eyes turned to watch them. The Heron were a common sight at council meetings, but the humans were new and drew curious stares. The humans are so small, whispered one council member to another. Are they children? I heard they fought the Vex and won, replied another. Impossible. High Counselor Dex, a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin, called the meeting to order. Representatives of all worlds, we face a grave threat. The Vex attacks have increased tenfold in the past month. Our intelligence suggests they are planning something larger than simple raids. Images appeared in the air above the platform. Vex ships gathering, space stations under attack, maps showing invasion routes. We believe they are preparing for a major offensive against multiple systems. Dex continued. They have never attempted anything on this scale before. Captain June stepped forward when invited to speak. The Heron fleet stands ready to defend the Council worlds as always. We will increase patrols and... With respect, Captain Min interrupted, stepping up beside June. Defense isn't enough. We need to strike first. The council chamber filled with murmurs. Interrupting was not common protocol. And who might you be? Asked Counselor Dex, clearly annoyed. Captain Min of Earth, she replied. My ship encountered and defeated a Vex force at the Trill trading post yesterday. This caused even more talking among the council members. Dex raised a hand for silence. Earth? We have no record of the new colony world. He looked at his data screen. Your credentials are noted, Captain Min, but this council has procedures. The Heron have been our defenders for centuries. Captain Min nodded. And they've done an admirable job. But the Vex are adapting. They're learning Heron tactics. We need to change our approach. Security Chief Sun stepped forward, his patience clearly tested. The Heron have faced the Vex for 200 years. We know them better than anyone. Combat expert Han spoke up. You know how they were, not how they are now. The tension between the two warriors was clear to everyone. Counselor Dex looked uncomfortable. What do you propose, human? He asked finally. Captain Min activated her own data device. A new image appeared, a massive structure floating in space. This is the Vex main hive, their command center. All attack orders come from here. The council members stared in shock. This information was new to them. How did you get this intelligence? Dex demanded. We interrogated a Vex commander we captured, Min explained calmly. He was quite helpful once we figured out how to communicate properly. Captain June looked at Min with new respect. The Vex were notoriously difficult to capture alive, let alone interrogate. I propose a joint mission, Min continued. A small team to infiltrate the hive and gather detailed intelligence on their attack plans. Once we know exactly what they're planning, we can prepare properly. Science Officer Yoon studied the image of the Vex hive. The structure appears heavily defended. Infiltration would be extremely dangerous. Yes, Min agreed. That's why we need both Heron and humans. Your strength and our different approach. High Counselor Dex looked troubled. What you propose is nearly impossible. The risk is too great. All great victories require risk, June said, surprising himself by supporting the human plan. If Captain Min's intelligence is correct, we need this information. The council debated for hours. Finally, they reached a decision. The mission was approved, but with conditions. It would be small, just 4 Heron and 4 humans. If they were discovered, the council would deny all knowledge of the mission. After the meeting, the 2 captains gathered with their chosen team members in a private room to plan. The team will consist of Captain June and myself as leaders, Min said. Lieutenant Tae and Officer G as tactical. Science Officer Yoon and Scientist Song for technical support. Security Chief Sun and Combat Specialist Han for strength and combat skills. Sun looked at Han with doubt. No offense, human, but in a fight you will be a liability. You have no natural armor, no real strength. Han smiled that strange, not friendly smile again. Let's test that theory. A quick match? Just for team building. June should have stopped it. But he was curious too. He nodded his permission. The others cleared space in the center of the room. Sun and Han faced each other. Sun towered over the human, his muscled arms thicker than Han's legs. First to pin the other wins, June said. Begin. Sun moved forward confidently, reaching to grab Han. The human didn't retreat. Instead, he stepped into Sun's reach, ducked under his arm, and used the Heron's momentum against him. Before anyone could blink, Sun crashed to the floor, the much smaller human holding him in a joint lock that somehow immobilized the powerful Heron. The room went silent. Sun tapped the floor twice. A surrender. Han released him immediately and offered a hand to help him up. How? Sun asked, accepting the help and rising slowly. You shouldn't be strong enough to do that. It's not about strength, Han explained. It's about leverage, balance, and knowing where to apply pressure. On Earth, we've spent thousands of years figuring out how smaller fighters can defeat larger ones. Science Officer Yoon was recording everything, fascinated. Because on a death world, you can't always be the strongest creature. Exactly, Scientist Song agreed. We weren't the strongest, fastest, or toughest species on Earth. We had to get creative. Captain June watched the exchange with growing understanding. The Heron had evolved physical solutions to their dangerous world. Tough bodies, powerful muscles, redundant organs. Humans had evolved mental solutions, creativity, adaptability, and apparently fighting techniques that used an opponent's strength against them. We leave tomorrow, June announced. We'll take a small, fast ship that can avoid Vex detection. Everyone prepare your equipment and get rest. This mission will test all of us. As the meeting ended, Lieutenant Tay approached June privately. "Captain, do you really trust these humans? We know almost nothing about them." June considered the question carefully. "I trust that they want to stop the Vex. Beyond that, I trust what I've seen. They're different from us, Tay. They think differently. And right now, different thinking might be exactly what we need." Later that night, June found Captain Min alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. "Your combat specialist is impressive," June said. Min nodded. "Han was our top hand-to-hand instructor before joining my crew." "You said humans adapt," June noted. "You meant more than just technology, didn't you?" "Yes," Min replied. "Our history is full of adaptation. When we couldn't outfight something, we outsmarted it. When we couldn't outrun something, we trapped. And when we couldn't survive somewhere, we changed the environment, or ourselves." June looked out at the stars beside her. "The Heron have always been proud of our toughness. We believed it made us unique. Special." "You are special," Min said. "Just not the only special ones." As they stood there, two Deathworlders looking at the same stars, June realized something important. Tomorrow they would begin a mission that might save many worlds. And they would do it not as competitors, but as allies. Two species from worlds that tried to kill them, now joining forces. The Vex wouldn't know what hit them. The small scout ship shuddered violently. Red warning lights flashed across the control panel. Captain June gripped his seat as the ship spun through space. "We've been hit," Lieutenant Tay shouted over the alarms. "Vex patrol spotted us." "Captain." Min worked furiously at her controls. "Engine damage at 60%. We can't outrun them now." The plan had been simple. Approach the Vex hive using a stealth ship, land quietly, gather intelligence, and leave. But the Vex had improved their sensors. They had been waiting. "We need to land now," June decided. "That moon below, can we reach it?" Navigator Hyun, who had joined the mission at the last minute, checked his instruments. "Yes, Captain, but it's hostile. Thin atmosphere, toxic gases, radiation zones." "Perfect," said Combat Specialist Han with a grim smile. "They won't expect us to go there." The ship plunged toward the moon's surface, 3 Vex patrol crafts in pursuit. Science officer Jun worked with Scientist Song to map a landing zone. "There's a valley 20 kilometers ahead," Song reported. "It provides some cover from the radiation." The ship screamed through the thin atmosphere, heat building on its hull. Behind them, 1 Vex ship followed, the others pulling back. "They think we're committing suicide," Sun observed. "Let's not prove them right," June replied. The landing was more of a controlled crash. The ship hit hard, skidding across rocky ground before coming to a stop at the edge of a deep crater. Inside, the team was thrown against their restraints. Equipment broke free and flew across the cabin. When the dust settled, June did a quick check. "Report. Is everyone alive?" One by one, the team members responded. All were alive, but not uninjured. June himself had a broken leg. He could feel the bone had snapped cleanly. Lieutenant Tay had a deep cut on his face. Science Officer Yoon seemed dazed, possibly concussed. The humans had fared better. Captain Min had a bruised shoulder but could move. Officer G was checking a cut on her arm. Scientist Song was already pulling out medical equipment. Combat Specialist Han seemed completely unharmed and was securing loose items. "The ship is finished," Tay reported. "We'll never get it flying again." "Then we continue on foot," June said, trying to stand. Pain shot through his leg and he fell back. Captain Min was at his side immediately. "You've broken your leg. We need to set it." June looked at her with surprise. "It will heal. Hair and bones mend quickly." "Not if they're not set properly," Min argued. She turned to Song. "We need to make a splint." While Song prepared medical supplies, June studied the humans. They moved differently now, more alert, more focused. "You don't seem bothered by this." "Moon's conditions," he observed. Han checked readings on a small device. "Low gravity compared to Earth. Radiation is high, but not immediately deadly. The air is bad, but our suits can filter it." He grinned. It's like a pleasant spring day compared to some places on Earth. Science Officer Yoon, recovering from her dazed state, looked interested despite their situation. What places? Death Valley, the top of Everest, the deepest ocean trenches, active volcano sites, Han listed. Humans like to visit these places for fun. For fun? Sun looked shocked. You visit deadly places by choice? We call it extreme sports, Han explained, or adventure tourism. Before Yoon could ask more questions, Song and Min finished creating a splint for June's leg. The pain was intense when they set the bone, but June didn't make a sound. He had endured worse. We need to move, Captain Min said, checking her instruments. The Vex ship landed about 5 kilometers from here. They'll be looking for us. Our mission is still the same, June reminded everyone. We need to reach the Vex hive. Tay studied their maps. The nearest transport station is 30 kilometers from here. If we can reach it, we might find a way to the hive. 30 kilometers across hostile terrain, with Vex hunting them, with a broken leg. June saw doubt on the faces of his Heron crew, but the humans were already packing essential supplies. We should move at night, Officer G suggested. The radiation drops after dark on this side of the moon. Good thinking, Min agreed. Everyone rest for a few hours. We leave when the sun sets. As the others prepared, June pulled Captain Min aside. This mission may be impossible now. We should consider alternatives. Min looked surprised. We can still do this, Captain. It's just become more challenging. I have a broken leg. Officer Yoon is injured. Our ship is destroyed. So we adapt, Min said simply. That's what humans do best. The journey began at nightfall. The landscape was alien and hostile. Sharp rock formations, glowing pools of liquid that gave off toxic vapors, and a sky filled with strange lights from radiation storms. June moved slowly, using a makeshift crutch. The pain was constant, but manageable. What bothered him more was feeling like a burden. Heron did not like weakness. They had traveled about 5 kilometers when they encountered their first real obstacle, a wide chasm blocking their path. Too wide to jump, Sun stated. We need to find another way around. That could add hours to our journey, Tay pointed out. The humans were studying the chasm carefully. Han pulled out a small device and fired it across the gap. A thin line shot over and embedded in the rock on the other side. What is that? Yoon asked with interest. Portable bridge kit, Han explained. Standard equipment for Earth exploration. Teams. Within minutes, the humans had created a narrow bridge across the chasm. It looked fragile to June, just a few thin wires with small platforms to step on. This won't hold a heron's weight, Sun said doubtfully. It's stronger than it looks, Han assured him. The cables are carbon fiber composite. They can hold 3 times your weight. One by one, they crossed the chasm. The humans went quickly, moving with practiced ease. The Heron moved more cautiously. When it was June's turn, Han crossed back to help him. Lean on me, Captain, Han offered. June hesitated. His pride wanted to refuse. But practicality won. Thank you. With Han's support, June made it across. The humans showed no strain despite supporting much of June's weight. They continued through the night. Twice they had to hide from Vex patrols. Once they detoured around a radiation zone so intense that even their protective gear wouldn't help. By dawn, they had covered nearly 15 kilometers. They found shelter in a small cave to rest during the dangerous daylight hours. As they ate a sparse meal of emergency rations, Science Officer Yoon continued her observations of the humans. She noticed that Han had a deep cut on his arm that he hadn't mentioned. You're injured, she pointed out. Han glanced at the wound as if noticing it for the first time. It's nothing. It needs treatment, Yoon insisted. Infection is a risk in this environment. Han shrugged and allowed Song to clean and bandage the wound. On Earth, we have a saying, rub some dirt on it and walk it off. Sun looked confused. Dirt would increase infection risk. It's a joke, Han explained. It means to ignore minor injuries and continue the mission. June watched this exchange with growing understanding. The humans didn't have the Heron's natural physical advantages. Their skin wasn't as tough, their muscles weren't as strong, their bones weren't as dense. But they had something else, an incredible tolerance for discomfort and an ability to keep functioning despite injuries. "How much further to the transport station?" June asked. Tay checked their map. 15 more kilometers. But the terrain gets worse from here. And there's a Vex outpost we'll need to avoid. Captain Min was studying her own device. "I have an idea. Instead of avoiding the outpost, we use it." Everyone turned to look at her. "The Vex won't expect us to go directly toward their position," Min explained. "We steal one of their vehicles. That would cut our travel time significantly." "That's extremely risky," Lieutenant Tay argued. "So is crossing 15 kilometers of open terrain with Vex patrols searching for us," Min countered. June considered both options. The Heron way would be to continue on foot, relying on strength and endurance. The human way seemed to be to take a bigger risk for a bigger reward. "We'll try Captain Min's plan," he decided. Sometimes the most dangerous path is actually the safest. As the team prepared to move out again, June realized something important. This mission had become more than just gathering intelligence. It had become a test, a crucible, for both species. And so far, what impressed him most wasn't the humans' technology or tactics. It was their refusal to give up no matter the odds. The stolen Vex transport hummed as it approached the massive Vex hive. The structure hung in space like a dark star, its surface covered with spines and weapon ports. Thousands of ships moved around it like insects around a nest. Inside the transport, the team was silent. Their plan to steal a Vex vehicle had worked, but not without cost. During the raid on the Vex outpost, Lieutenant Tay had been injured by a Vex energy weapon. He was alive but unconscious, his breathing shallow. "We're approaching the outer defense ring," Officer G said from the pilot's seat. "Our stolen codes are working so far." Captain June shifted uncomfortably. His broken leg was set, but still painful. "Remember the mission. We need to reach the Central Command, download their attack plans, and transmit the data to the Council. And then get out alive, if possible," added Captain Min with a small smile. The transport passed through the first security checkpoint without issue. The Vex controllers believed they were just another supply ship returning to the hive. "We'll dock at the lower maintenance bay," Science Officer Yoon suggested. "It should be less guarded." The approach to the hive was tense. Every moment they expected to be discovered. But the deception held, and soon they were docking at a small bay near the bottom of the massive structure. "Stay alert, Security Chief," Sun warned as they prepared to exit. "The Vex will know we don't belong as soon as they see us." Han checked his weapons. "Then we don't let them see us until we have to." The team moved through the maintenance corridors of the hive. The Vex design was strange, organic-looking metal that seemed to pulse with life. The air was thick and humid, filled with a strong scent like rotting plants. Scientist Song used a small device to scan for energy signatures. The Central Command should be 3 levels up. There's a data hub that connects to it nearby. They reached a junction where several corridors met. Ahead, they could hear the clicks and hisses of Vex workers. "We need a distraction," June said, looking at the team. Captain Min nodded to Combat Specialist Han, who smiled and pulled out a small package from his pack. "What is that?" Sun asked. "Something we call a flash bang," Han explained. "It makes a very loud noise and bright light. Very disorienting. It will bring more Vex," Sun warned. "Yes," Han agreed. "But not from the direction we need to go." Han moved quickly down one corridor, placed his device, and hurried back. A moment later, a deafening boom echoed through the hive, followed by flashing lights. Alarm sounds began immediately. Vex soldiers rushed toward the disturbance, ignoring the small team pressed against the wall in shadows. "Now," Min whispered, and they moved quickly in the opposite direction. They reached the data hub, a large room filled with glowing panels and strange organic-looking computers. Science Officer Yoon and Scientist Song immediately went to work, connecting their devices to the Vex systems. "We need time," Song said urgently. "The encryption is complex." "How long?" June asked. 10 minutes, maybe 15, Yoon estimated. Security Chief Sun took position at the door with Han. We won't have that long. They'll realize the distraction was false soon. As if summoned by his words, alarms changed tone. The hive seemed to vibrate with new energy. They know we're here, Officer G warned, checking her scanner. Multiple Vex approaching from all directions. Captain June made a quick decision. Captain Min, stay with the science team, get that data. The rest of us will hold off the Vex. Captain Min looked like she wanted to argue but nodded. Be careful. The defense of the data hub was brutal. The Vex came in waves, insect-like soldiers with multiple limbs and energy weapons. Sun and Han held the main entrance while June and Ji covered a second door. Despite his broken leg, June fought with all the strength and skill of a Heron warrior. What surprised him most was watching Han fight. The human moved like water, never directly opposing force with force. Where Sun would block an attack with his armored body, Han would redirect it. Where Sun would crush an enemy with pure strength, Han would find a vital point and strike with precision. 5 more minutes, Yoon called out between waves of attack. The next wave was larger. A Vex commander, bigger than the others, with glowing red eyes, led the attack. It fired an energy blast that hit Security Chief Sun squarely in the chest. The tough Heron went down hard. June tried to move to help, but his injured leg gave way. He fell and a Vex soldier loomed over him, weapon raised. Then Han was there, moving faster than June thought possible for a human. He took down the Vex soldier and pulled June to safety behind a barrier. Son? June asked urgently. Alive but badly hurt, Han reported, his face streaked with blood from a cut on his forehead. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. More Vex were arriving with every moment. Officer G had taken a hit to her arm but was still fighting. Captain Min had joined the defense, showing surprising skill with a captured Vex weapon. Data secured, Song shouted suddenly. We have everything. Transmitting. Now, Yoon added, working her device quickly. The transmission would alert every Vex in the hive to their exact location. They had minutes, maybe seconds, before they would be overwhelmed. We need to reach the transport, June said, trying to stand. Captain. Min looked at the wounded team members, then at the growing number of Vex outside the hub. We can't all make it. Some of us need to stay and make sure that transmission completes. June understood immediately what she was suggesting. A sacrifice play. The Heron way would be for him, as captain, to stay behind. It was his duty. I'll stay, he said firmly. The rest of you get to the transport. No, Min countered. You can barely walk. I'll stay. Before they could argue further, Han stepped between them. Neither of you is staying. I'll hold them off. Alone? Sun asked, weakly from where he lay injured. Impossible. Han checked his weapons with a grim smile. Impossible is what humans do best. Get the data to the council. That's what matters. Captain Min looked at her combat specialist for a long moment, then nodded. May your ancestors watch over you, Han. They usually don't approve of my methods, Han replied with a laugh. Then he turned serious. Now go. I'll give you as much time as I can. The team gathered the wounded and prepared to move. Han collected all remaining weapons and explosives. As the others slipped out through a maintenance shaft, June paused to look back at the human. Why? He asked simply. Han shrugged. On Earth we have a saying, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Besides, he added with that strange human smile, someone once told me that Deathworlders don't go down easy. Time to prove it. The journey back to the transport was a blur of pain and desperate fighting. Somehow they made it. As they fled the hive, they could see explosions erupting from the data hub section. Han was making his last stand count. 3 days later, Captain June stood before the Galactic Council. His leg was healing, though he still used a support to walk. Beside him stood Captain Min, her arm in a sling. The rest of the team, except for Han, stood behind them. The intelligence you gathered has saved countless lives, High Counselor Dex announced. The Vex were planning total extermination of 12 systems. Thanks to your warning, our combined fleet stopped them. The council chamber erupted in applause. But June felt little joy. The cost had been too high. After the ceremony, he found Captain Min on the same observation deck where they had spoken before the mission. "You're a combat specialist, Han," June said quietly. He was a true warrior. Min nodded, her eyes on the stars. He was a typical human. "We're not stronger or tougher than you, Heron, but we never, ever give up." "The Council wants to establish a joint defense force," June told her. "Heron and human together. They're calling it the Deathworlder Division." Min smiled at that. "Has a nice ring to it. Will your people agree to it?" "Absolutely. Will yours?" June thought about everything he had learned on this mission. How the humans approached problems differently, how they found strength in what the Heron would consider weakness, how they turned disadvantages into advantages. "We would be fools not to," he said honestly. "Our species evolved on worlds that tried to kill us every day, but we survived in different ways. Together, we could be unstoppable." As the two captains stood side by side, looking out at the galaxy they had saved, June understood a truth that would change his people forever. The Heron were no longer alone. Earth had produced another species of survivors, different, but equally determined. And the galaxy would never be the same again. In the vast darkness of space, two Deathworld species had found each other, and together, they would thrive.